Okay, let's get started. My name is Rebecca Kokendorfer. I'm the senior editor and co-founder of Homeschool.com, and I'll be your host for this interview. Coming up this next hour, we have the great honor and privilege of speaking with Robert and Kim Kiyosaki. Robert is the author of the very popular international bestseller, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, a book of series, and also the Cash Flow Games. In Robert's words, we go to school to learn to work hard for money. I write books and create products to teach people how to have money work hard for them. Then they can enjoy the luxuries of this great world we live in. So thank you very much, Robert, and welcome.
Oh, thank you very much. Is this loud enough?
Yes, it is. I think so. And Kim, can we hear your voice?
Hello, Rebecca.
Hello, Kim.
How are you? Thanks for having us on.
Thank you. My first question is for you, Kim, so try to put your mouth as close to the speaker as you can.
All right.
So, Kim, why is it so important, in your opinion, that women take charge of their own finances?
And it's a really good question, and I think the best way I can answer it is that there's a lot of statistics out there that really support. You know, I'm a big proponent for getting women into the game of investing, in the world of investing. And let me just give you some statistics that were pretty shocking to me, and these are from America. It says that in the U.S., 47% of women over the age of 50 are single, meaning that they're responsible for their financial well-being. And a lot of us have heard the statistics that 1 out of 2 marriages end in divorce, and who usually ends up with the kids is the woman, so she's now responsible for herself and her kids. And also, the first year after a divorce, a woman's standard of living drops 73%. And there's a lot of statistics about the elderly. 3 out of 4 of the elderly living in poverty are women. Statistics show that 80% of women who are living in poverty, of the elderly women, they were not poor when they were married or when their husband was alive. So all of these statistics tell me that women, have not been prepared, and we're not prepared to take care of ourselves financially. And the world has changed so much with divorce, with job situations. It's changed so much that there's got to be another way for women to start taking care of themselves.
Do you manage your own finances, Kim?
Yes.
So what do you suggest then for women to become more involved in the day-to-day money issues of their lives?
Well, it really, it has the Rich Dad Company. It's all about education. And I guess the first step is for women to figure out, it's easy to say, because one of the biggest objections is, and especially for women, I don't have time. A lot of us are juggling career, kids, family. So you've really got to find out deep down, why do you want to even make the effort and take the time, because it will take time and it will take education. So what is that reason, I just want to make more money isn't going to motivate me to, get up early and do what I need to do. But what is it? For me, I hate being told what to do. I was fired twice from my first job. I hate being told what to do, and I really value my freedom.
Now, of course, you're one of the founders of the Rich Dad Company, and you're a speaker, and you're an investor in your own right.
Correct.
So even though your husband makes plenty of money, per se, you still have been taking charge of your own finances and directing your own investments.
Yeah, that's a really good question, because something very personal to me is this company, but more importantly, our company before this. We built it all around Robert as the celebrity, which was definitely the right move. It's his story, it's his vision. And there was one day where I realized that for any reason, if Robert and I were to split up, I not only lose the marriage, I lose my business. And I'm like, all of a sudden I realized how dependent I had become. And even though, the marriage was great, the business was great, what if something happened? And so that got me thinking, and it was actually Robert who said, it's time you start investing.
Well, that's excellent. Let's talk a little bit now with both of you, running through general business principles and your advice for men as well as women. So, Robert, many homeschoolers are self-employed or want to be. What are the advantages of working from your home or in creating your own business?
Reason number one is taxes. As you may know, that the tax laws are not fair, and if you're an employee, then you're working for what's called earned income. And earned income is the highest of all tax income. By working from home, you actually have the tax advantages of the rich. And as we all know, taxes are our single largest expense. Like if I was taking my income as income, I'd be in the 50% bracket. That means 50 cents of every dollar I earn goes to the federal government or federal or state government. So that's reason number one for me, is because I'd rather keep my money rather than turn it over to the government. Did you hear that?
Yes, I'm sorry. I got dropped off the line there for a moment.
So that's reason number one. And then if you can survive on your own, then you don't really need a job again.
Well, let's talk then about the difference between being self-employed and compare that with creating a business, since many homeschoolers either have their own businesses or are self-employed.
Self-employed basically means that you own the job. Like a doctor is often self-employed, a consultant is self-employed. What that means, if they stop working, their income stops also, and I think that's what scares a lot of people. My rich dad taught me to be an entrepreneur, and an entrepreneur has other people do their job for them. So the reason that Kim and I have so much free time is that we were taught not to be the ones that did the work, but to create the company where people can afford to survive and work, things like that.
Of course, you have that excellent example if you have the quadrant, where you have an addition sign, a cross on a page, and on the top left-hand quadrant you have employee, and underneath that you have self-employed, and on the top right-hand side you have business owner, and on the bottom right you have investor. And your advice is you're trying to educate us to move to the right-hand side of that quadrant, away from being self-employed to owning a business and being an investor. Why is that so important?
Well, again, I'm glad I'm talking to homeschoolers, is that our school system was designed to create people who were employees or self-employed. That's the school system. And that way you were trained to work for the rich. On the B and the I side, the right side of the quadrant, that's where the rich operate. So for me, I didn't want to work for the rich. I wanted to be rich. And in order to do that, I needed the education and the skills to operate on the B and the I side. That's why you hear so many people say today, go to school so you can get a good job. That's the E quadrant. People are being brainwashed and programmed to be employees of the rich. Or what other people say is, be sure you have a profession to fall back on, like become a doctor or an electrician or a plumber. That's the S quadrant. So most people go to school and they learn to work for money. On the B and the I side, your skills are you have to learn to have people work for you and other people's money work for you. And they're very different skills and very different mindsets. And unfortunately, only about 5% of the population has the mindset of the B and the I side. So that's why homeschoolers have a shot, at least, of educating their children to be B's and I's rather than E's and S's. That's the point.
One of the principles you talk about in all of the Rich Dad books and in the cash flow games, in the Rich Dad games, is the idea of passive income. I'd never even heard that phrase before until I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. So why is passive income so important?
One more word, taxes. When you say to a child, go to school to get a job, or you say to somebody, go to school to become a doctor, you're training them to work for earned income. There's three kinds of income according to Internal Revenue Service. There's earned income, there's portfolio income, and there's passive income. In the very simple terms, earned income is you physically working for money, and that's the most highly taxed. Again, 50% of your income goes to earned income. As an investor, I learned to work for portfolio income, which is taxed at 15%, and passive income, which is income that can tax at 0%. So one of the reasons the rich get richer is they don't work for money, they have their money work for them. And the Internal Revenue Service wants rich people to have, and so they incentivize them to have money work hard for them. And to me, that makes more sense. That's one reason. And number two, if I have passive income, I don't have to go to work. For example, my wife and I, we're not Donald Trump by any means, but whether we work or not, every month we have about $300,000 in passive income coming in at very low tax rate. Like I said, we're not Donald Trump, but that's about $3.5–4 million a year without working. So to me, that makes more sense than working hard and then putting your money in a 401k. And the reason a 401k is really a bad investment plan is, again, once again, it's your